instead of a video.
There it is, Gary Clark from Vermont Studio Center down here in New York at Brass Restaurant, and he has admitted to me his passion for sections of the Battenkill, and so I think he should allow us some insights into that aesthetic.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of places on the Battenkill that are cool, but there's one in particular that can sort of stand for them all. I mean, my father took me to the Orvis Fly Fishing School for my 13th birthday, and we fished on the Battenkill. That was probably the first time. And then when I got my license a bunch of years later, a couple years later, it was one of the first places I took a trip to drive up by myself and camp out by the river. And I had this friend, we'd go, and we discovered, at least for ourselves, you know, this place on the Battenkill that remains very special to me. It's kind of it's a long route 313 up toward Arlington, not far from where 313 leaves Route 7, and it's kind of a big dog leg left that you can't see from the road, and the water kind of sweeps around across this sort of shallow riffle and then deepens and sort of strengthens up along this bank beneath all these hemlocks, and there's a couple of boulders that sort of protrude from the water and create these incredible eddies, and there's just a feeling of kind of darkness and hiddenness to the water, and a sense of like an underwater world that's just, you know, wonderful. It's like one of the, I think, the real pleasures that people who fish in that way for trout have, is looking at water like that and kind of reading the water. And it was you know, it was far enough away from the road you could have a lot of private time up there. You could cast, you could sit. Every once in a while you'd catch a nice trout, and it somehow came to embody like all the pleasures of that activity that had, you know, of which actually bringing a fish into your hands was only a small part. You know, truly one of those places that you just love to be in. The activity of fishing and that kind of seeking led you to. And I don't even want to know what Irene did to that corner. I will go back the next time I'm down there and just see. I hope it didn't rearrange everything so it's lost the configuration that it had, the depth where it was on the far side. I hope that bank wasn't eroded. I hope the shade is still there, and the sense of kind of mystery is still there about it. It'd be really too bad to lose that. So maybe I shouldn't go back, because.
Well, of course, the river changes momentarily. Every minute, it's changing in a different way, and you can come when the water's high, the water's low, the water's been ripped up by a storm, or it's not. It's trying to get its way down to the Hudson.
Well, right, and it will continue to do that. You know, but I think even Irene was an extraordinary historic event. I mean, so that volume of water does have the ability to actually change
it ripped up
waterway.
It ripped up everything on the other side of the divide, going towards the down the West River,
toward the Connecticut River.
So the Connecticut River. You talk about the divide.
Yeah,
it wasn't
as bad on that. It wasn't as bad on the west. I mean,
I don't know.
On the west
side, the east side, it was really
right.
It ripped it up. I don't know.
No, that's what I mean. I saw those pictures, and so I don't even want to know what it did to the Battenkill, but you know, we'll see. And I don't know what it does to trout. I mean, does it sweep them all away when you've got 15 times the water that you normally have? I know, like typical rainstorms and all that, the trout can hunker down and they can survive. But that volume of water, I don't know what it does if it.
You know that on the way out of Manchester, up towards Bromley Mountain, on the right is the National Forest people, who, whatever they call themselves, the National Parks Department or whatever it is. Anyway, they're the ones that take care of the rivers. They know everything about it. It's an interesting place to stop in and talk to the guys, because they have the drawings of all the rivers around, and they know where they stock and where they set up spawning grounds.
They don't stock the Battenkill, though, do they? They didn't. It used to be like a totally wild river. That was one of its like.
Maybe they just make sure that there's bedding, proper bedding for them, so that they can spawn properly.
I'll tell you one story about that.
I don't know that
place on the Battenkill. Was I was fishing there one time, and I thought was a strike or something, and I wound up reeling in this whole fishing rod, a beautiful bamboo fishing rod, all strung up. I can't remember what kind of fly it had on it, the reel and everything. It was a valuable rod, like an old Orvis bamboo rod. Pulled the whole up, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I drove to Orvis and brought it to the guys there, and they checked their log, and sure enough, there was this guy from Mystic, Connecticut. I can almost remember his name, Dr. something or other, and it was his rod. And he'd been, I guess, on a canoe float trip or something. The rod had gone overboard. He'd never found it. It was like 5 years before I reeled the thing in. So they returned the rod to the guy, and he sent me 3 boxes of flies that he had tied himself, with an amazing note about the virtues of honesty and how impressed he was that a young man had returned the rod to him and not taken the rod for himself. And it was kind of a cool experience. I never met the guy, but I think I have the letter still somewhere.
That's a very nice story.
It was
a nice story.
I guess just another lesson that the river can somehow give you.
How are the rivers up north in your Black River or whatever
No, well,
it
from a
is?
fishing point of view, I don't actually fish much anymore. It's just one of those things that's just fallen by the wayside with work and kids and everything. And maybe when I'm older, I'll get back into it. But there are big fish in the Lamoille River. They are caught from time to time. But
What's the name of the river?
The Lamoille River is the one it's the big river that flows through Lamoille County begins up in Greensboro and flows into Lake Champlain and flows through, Hardwick and Wolcott and Morrisville and Hyde Park and Johnson and Jeffersonville and Cambridge and Fairfax and anyway, towns down to the river. I've paddled it a couple times, but it's a tough river. It gets a lot of sunshine. It's not forested anymore. There's like farm fields along it. Just think back probably 500 years ago, that river must have been an incredible native brook trout river, just shaded by huge native trees and trafficked only by Native American footpaths and things like that. I mean, in its prime, that river was probably all world. But right now, it's kind of a silt-filled in many places. There's a lot of erosion because of the farm fields, and there are people who spend a lot of time on their Saturday mornings, trying to plant willows and fast-growing trees to try to stabilize the banks and bring shade to the rivers. But those efforts won't really pay off till the next generation or two. But it'd be nice to see that river return to some sort of shady.
The trout like the shade.
Well, they like the cool water. I don't think it's the shade itself, but the shade gives them the cover of the shadows from predators, and it keeps the water cooler, which they like better.
What's a predator to a trout?
Oh, they're birds, heron, otters. Boys with sticks, fishermen.
Right. They bitch about the Battenkill and the float traffic.
They do, and that was actually something last time I fished it, that was just getting to be a problem. But it was, no sooner had you, found your hole and found the fly you wanted and gotten into your zone, and then
Four canoes come by.
or what are those things? Tubes.
Tubes, yeah.
Whole camp group, come through. And you come right up against you really don't have any more right to the river than they do. But
you're in camo.
Somehow, I guess it's the thing is that, but their activity disrupts yours far more than your activity disrupts theirs. So that's the imbalance that you feel when you're on the river. It's not that they don't have a right to enjoy it. It's just that when they enjoy it, you can't. Whereas when you enjoy it, they still can. So you feel like it's a little one-sided, I guess.
But
it's an incredible place, though.
The beauty of it in midday is one thing. Float traffic is midday traffic or afternoon traffic, one imagines. And then there's the soft early morning, and then there's the
those are the times
dusk
to be on the
falling.
river anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
When the hatches. When do the hatches occur?
I don't know.
In the difference, it happens as the weather changes or the temperature changes. I think the hatches occur. No, so in times of change,
it's not. Hatches typically, I think, are in the evenings and the mornings. I don't remember what they used to be. I think they used to be a trico hatch and probably a green drake or a blue dun or something, but I can't really remember. It's been a long time, and really, the Battenkill exists for me sort of like an old friend. I mean, it sort of exists as something in my mind. It's like a fortifying affection within me that I sort of carry around as part of what gives you whatever it is, hope or just faith in the world. It's just one of those places that's. I think we all have them. It's like you travel, you see what you see, but in a way, all that sort of boils down to a couple of spots that, for some reason, resonate with you and somehow become emblems of the things that you love about the world. And I think they're kind of different for everybody. I think if you could look at all these people on the street and extract from their minds the different places that they carry that are meaningful to them, all these anonymous people would be very individual to you, because those places that they love and carry with them are sort of who they are.
So
I mean, that's kind of the Battenkill. That's a place for me that's like that.
Well, there you go.
It's not even important that I go back there in a way. So maybe it's almost better that I don't, because it remains kind of larger than life, sort of. It's almost bigger as an idea and as a memory than as a place to actually be.
And there you have it for Roger Smith News, Gary Clark, on the nature of the river and that wonderful river. And it's the river of the mind, in the mind. That's what we remember of the river.
It's the river of rivers in Connecticut.
On the other hand, when you do travel it and you sit for a moment or two on the river's edge, you can feel it. Okay, for Roger Smith News at 47th and Lex, or actually 48th and Lex, James Knowles reporting for Roger Smith News.